Contractz not looking scared in this attempted gank down bot, flashing away from the Cloud9 side, and first blood getting an advantage over to CLG. Baron, now Barrett for Cloud9. They're hitting the go button onto the fight. Poome, wild growth and all, soon to fall. Palafox hits that stopwatch, and it hits a gray screen as Cloud9 collapse upon CLG. Flash over the wall by Dhokla, but the flash response mean that it is an ace coming through for Cloud9. Welcome back, everyone. It is game number 4, Cloud9 versus CLG. Cloud9 in the position to take it all.
Cloud9 looking good so far. It's been a little bit spicy in some of these games, but they've had really, really good objective control, being able to grab a lot of these dragons, heralds, barons, something that's been in their favor. CLG has been scrappy in the early games, some good team fights, but right now I think C9 is in a pretty good position. The question is, 3 blue side wins. Can they find a way to upset CLG on this side? Do they have something prepared in the tank on red?
CLG having pulled away one of those victories prior when on blue side, so now looking to do the same. I do wonder what adaptations they'll make as a team. We were kind of riding along with them during the prep in between and saw Dhokla's reaction as well to the end result of that last game.
Definitely looked like the pressure was maybe getting him, or frustration. It's hard to know exactly what anyone's thinking at any given time, but they were talking about in the analyst desk, a lot of Sion duty for him. The Gwen game, he played quite well. Maybe he's like, guys, give me the rock, I can carry. But for C9, I think they're looking pretty good right now. You have to remember that with a win here, you're guaranteed to go to Raleigh, whether it's in the finals or the losers finals that they can potentially find their way in. And for C9, it's worth noting that this is the most accomplished organization in North America kind of at this point. There's not the most titles yet. That still belongs, I believe, to TSM. But they have made a finals every single year they have been in the LCS. That is an insane stat. If you look at their average placings in the regular season, they're head and shoulders above any other competition. Like, this org has something different in the water, it feels like, that their systems really do work. Jack never loses the offseason, no matter what you think. Jack never loses the offseason, and it's looking pretty good for them right now in this series to kind of keep that train going. They might find themselves back in finals again with how good they've looked in the second half of this split.
I was about to say, even the memes have some kind of truth behind them, right? The systems of Cloud9, but I see signs in the audience hoping for a best of 5. That Boomer, what was that? Boomer memes for 80-minute dreams. Okay, I do think we're in for an 80-minute game here today, Mark.
80-minute game I can do without. I could do with a game 5. That would be fun to see if CLG can bounce back. I hope for high pace of game. That's basically all I'm looking for in this series, is to have fun.
Hey, I almost didn't get to be here today because I had jury duty this week, so it was a gamble. And last night I got the confirmation that I would get to be here to cast this match, and all I thought was, if we could not have a 3-0, make it an exciting series. We're coming on in, and I'm happy with that.
So here we talked about in the analyst desk about the repeat of some of the bans from game 1 to game 3. Here in game 2 to game 4, there's a repeat of some of the bans where the focus is on Berserker. He was heavily targeted in game 2. They neutralized him a little bit in that game through removing some of his carry potential. This time around, they might be trying to do the same thing. This time, there's a small change up with the Lee Sin being taken out. Last time, it was Lee Sin Elise was the matchup. CLG first picking the Elise. Here, they're actually banning that one out. Want to get it out of Blaber's hands.
And if CLG do still decide to go into the direction of having some early pressure and getting to put Contractz in the pilot seat, they have the opening to do so while eliminating part of the matchup that did give them some difficulty in their attempts prior.
Yeah, I wonder what the decision that they're trying to make there is, because I think the Lee Sin ban might have thrown them for a loop. I think CLG smelled a jungle pinch coming with the Vi and Sejuani, though those have been pretty standard. So they go Lee Sin to set up an uncontested Elise pick. And here, C9 did not want to ban the Elise. They actually banned out the Annie, so they're going to give that one over. We'll see what Blaber has as his second option into this champ.
Yeah, I mean, Blaber being a very experienced jungler that's taken on a lot of different looks. We heard Jensen talking about it during the cast that while, yes, the Contractz and Blaber both have a lot of proactivity, Contractz very much in that kind of driver's seat positioning in a lot of CLG's victories around that, where Blaber can play some of that supportive style and bringing out the Maokai for a lot of setup. Yeah,
it's really cool to see Blaber after having a more carry-focused pick. Like, he was the one breaking out the Rengar and doing crazy stuff in the regular season. Here, he's actually going tank duty for his team. playing into CLG and looking quite good as he's done it. He's had monstrous CS leads every single game, still being there to influence lanes, getting a lot of good counter ganks in as Contractz decided to take them over. And I think C9 has kind of identified their preferred way of handling CLG now, giving Berserker some scaling options, some individual carry potential with the Zeri, a big front line with Blaber, and then kind of dealing with CLG in these team fights.
And now with those two parts secured in the Maokai and the Zeri, Cloud9 will try to piece together something that very much leans into that scaling possibility and the carry potential of Berserker. For CLG's side, we are wondering if there would be any shift in that top lane position, with Dhokla being on Sion a couple games, but having Gwen for another, but it does look like it's the Sion coming back.
Yeah, Jensen was calling for it, saying Dhokla is a strong carry player, get him off to Sion. We were speculating if the Sion gameplay was putting his head in his hands in the cam between games, but not the case. Back on Sion for CLG. Obviously a Jayce mid, most likely then, and C9 answering with the Cassante. Emenes has flexed that a couple times, so it's not guaranteed into the Sion, but that is the most likely option here.
So still some hidden pieces in the way that Cloud9 want to piece together this draft. But yeah, CLG giving a little bit of a preview into what their solo lanes are going to look like. And even when talking about that point with Dhokla, how he is a top laner that can pilot these carry picks, we haven't necessarily seen a lot of overall success from teams that consistently lean into that way. So more of that bot lane focus and really trying to get those bot laners online. Curious to see how CLG try to set up other carries on the team.
I like C9 giving Luger's Jinx the kind of respect that it probably deserves, seeing him almost pop off that game. They take the matching scaling option of the Jinx away, so Zeri is kind of uncontested in scaling right now. There are other good team fighters if people want to go like a Felios Thresh or something like that, but for the most part, Zeri is the queen of mid and late game right now. So that one's taken off. We'll see what else they want to get rid of. Of course, supports not matched right now. 80 carries. Or excuse me, their team has a support right now, so they're focusing on banning out the 80 carries. There's the Aphelios, like I said, the other kind of late game team fighter that we've been seeing a little bit in the current meta, so really going to force them into this early game identity where you already have Elise and Jayce.
A denial of that pick for Luger, and the Heimerdinger also banned away by CLG. Berserker and Zven were able to do a lot with their poke pressure and kind of bullying in that laning phase, but forcing him to open up in a different direction. As we've already seen in the series, he just came off of that Soraka play with a lot of good silences to set up the squad.
Showing that there's a lot of options in Sven's arsenal. Eating 2 bans here, I'm sure he'll be just fine. We'll see what he wants to go for. Actually going support last pick, wanting to see exactly what CLG are going to go. Make sure there's no cheesy bot lane. Also, given the fact that you already know that Jayce is going mid, pretty easy to lock in the LeBlanc here. A bit of a weird draft to lead to this, but it makes a lot of sense in the context of what's going on. Just not many times in the current meta or many metas where you see support given last pick.
All doke, no choke signage.
That, I guess, is something that slipped through my radar here as another potential late game option, the Xayah Rakan. We saw how important that was yesterday in the series, where it was kept away from double F Busio's Rakan, banned out repeatedly to try and break this duo up. Goes through the CLG here. Poome has had a decent Rakan. I think it was game 1 he played it. Didn't win, but had some good flanks, some good engages. And it looks like Zven might be picking up another one here for his Enchanter pool. Renata, a little bit more aggressive than some of the other Enchanters, but still locking that one into pair up with the Zeri.
Yeah, the Renata lock in. We've started to see her come back in a little more as the season has went on, but now the entirety of the drafts lock in. Not as much of that flexing across the solo lanes for C9 as they have had prior. What do you make of the draft?
I think it's a weird one. There's going to be a lot of scrapping mid, I would assume. Jayce versus LeBlanc with Elise. That's the clear PowerPoint to me of where they would want to make some things happen. You can kill Emenes, get Palafox unlocked, get some pressure in the mid lane. That's great. You can spill it over into the bot side, where obviously with 2 scaling options, you heard Jensen in game 2 talking about if you can accelerate your scaling, that's obviously fantastic. But it does feel like that's going to be the impetus with much better, I think, team fight on the side of C9, though it is close. I mean, Renata ultimate's really strong. Obviously, you have this Cassante in the front side. LeBlanc finding flanks. We'll have to see. It's so far come down to execution. It feels like a lot of the points I make end up just being like who actually did the thing better at the Dragon.
There's so many moments you can point to for that, whether it is some of the Dragon fights, and I mean CLG, sometimes Poome gets a really great engage, or they get that pick off on Blaber, but then on Cloud9's side, proving that consistency in their objective control, whether it's through Blaber or otherwise. So see which one ends up coming out with their best foot forward in this game.
I just hope both teams have fun. Life motto right there. I just hope everyone has fun.
Fun, the core of happiness.
The analysts, the players, the coaches, the teams.
Your sweater's fun.
Control room.
There's smiles all over your sweater, and you're very much leaning into this fun, happy times vibe that I know so deep to your core.
That's me in a nutshell.
Always smiling.
Here we go.
One team's gonna be smiling more at the end of this.
Definitely gonna be more smiles. C9 is closer to smiling a lot more today because they only have to win one more time. And I think a lot of people have been very hot in this team, myself included, in the second round robin. Ever since Emenes has joined, was the same record, but the way that they looked in those games was absolutely incredible. They were blowing people out of the water. And I think this is a good series to push them and see how they react to a strong opponent in the early game, and seeing that they have more in their tank than just snowballing through Blaber ganks or Emenes 1v1s or whatever it is. They've had such good objective control. They've been able to make plays. They've been able to adapt to team fights, different angles that come through. I think it's been a tough series for C9, but they've come out ahead. We'll have to see if CLG can push them one more time.
Which every team knows this to a degree, but kind of making sure that Cloud9, they always take that value out of every matchup. Palafox and Emenes running into it a little bit as Contractz and Dhokla make their way through the jungle. See if they can get a deep ward. And all right, Palafox going for the clone, but cannot get this kill for the moment being.
This is such an interesting setup. Emenes took a very intelligent route there to go through the river, actually, because CLG has actually split the map, and they're doing this Sion all-in push for dive that we saw. I can't remember who busted that out, actually. It might have been C9 who used this one. Someone last weekend used this exact strategy of the Sion going to use this, get Elise to level 3, and then they're going to dive with the Sion tanking the turret. They're building up the wave. We have to see if the bot wave is actually synced correctly. Blaber is in range. They do have the vision to see that this one's coming.
The read is good for Cloud9. They've got Berserker and Zven with no access from Luger and Poome.
Oh boy, teleport's available for K'Sante as well. This is such a brute force dive. They're gonna go for it.
Attempted teleport in to even the numbers here for Cloud9. Flash out by Berserker. Dhokla has fallen. CLG seeing if they can scrap something else through. Fudge getting the slam onto Contractz, and Dhokla in the passive mode, managing to get some pressure onto Blaber here. So it's the 1-for-1 thus far.
Oh boy, all right, not a disaster. I thought that was about to go so much worse for CLG. The fact that they were able to get the kill back for Dhokla in his corpse form means that while he is behind right now, he can actually teleport back up to the top side, try and get this shove in before Fudge can get there and even out the wave a little bit. The danger with this is not only are you down a lot of farm, but you're down a lot of experience for the side of your top laner. So, you know, Fudge comes in at level 2, but that is a teleport. Whoa!
Oh, Poome go boom.
Poome went in there trying to find the knockup on Berserker, but he broke his ankle, step back, and then Zven lands the handshake to just obliterate Poome.
Oh, well, looking back at this play, that almost went dire for CLG.
I was surprised that they did not call this play off when, you know, Blaber was already here. The fact that the teleport's coming in, they still try and brute force it down. Blaber, I think, just might have lost track of the fact that Dhokla was on his head. No, he just couldn't get him off last second to get that punch through. I was watching Fudge in the initial play where he was on top and trying to get that kill. Here you see Poome just gets exploded when he W's in here. They land a good chunk to half health him before he decides to go in and just, oh boy, destroyed.
Grand entrance not quite working in his favor. A quick exit at that afterwards. Yeah, I feel like Sions, when dead and proccing that passive, sometimes it can be easy to forget. Oh, you're not going to forget a flat forward like that, though. Berserker soon to go down. The bailout can't get a kill off of it. So 2 for 2 right now in totality on the scoreboard.
CLG are just relentless. They're constantly going in there. This time, they're able to flash follow from, I think it was Poome who got the knock up there after the long-range cocoon landed. Some pressure still down the bot side.
Yeah, Blaber's the one eating a lot of that pressure from Luger throwing out the feathers, which forces Zven and Blaber to position very specifically to not be in line for that callback. So CLG definitely wanting to keep that killer instinct online.
I mean, this is a very, very aggressive game, which has led to some differences from some of the other ones. you know, this is the first time I think Blaber's been really set far behind. He died early. He had to kind of lose some of his bot camp due to the invade from CLG, so there wasn't that much for him to farm. He hasn't really been able to invade because a lot of the Palafox pressure has been up, so he's been trying to farm and catch up, but he keeps being needed to go bot lane and cover these kinds of plays. So obviously, the Elise is going to have the advantage in the early game, but this is the first time the farm has kind of come through in that way. And Dhokla is the one who's like, quote unquote, hurt by it, but that's fine because he's kind of in a tank-v-tank matchup and still doing quite well.
Yeah, and getting that kill that he did over on the bot side to offset some of that early loss of farm and beyond. Contractz keeping up with the style of this jungler as you want to see on the Elise making the plays across the map, now holding on.
Oh boy.
Fudge knows they're here. Dhokla wants to get the slam down. Poome also on the top side. Fudge wants to bring down Dhokla with him, but cannot do so. CLG with the play.
Nice brute force play there. They couldn't decide if they wanted to wait for the wave or not. Contractz was tanking that, but they realized that there was just really no one there to cover the play, so they decided to go in for it. Poome with the nice roam to make that one happen. They might go again here.
Oh, they're trying for it. A little knock up on the extension of that Q, and Contractz and Poome here with the CC to try and make it happen. Oh, getting the kill onto Blaber, baby.
Why complicate it if you don't need to? They just hold the W from the Rakan, wait for Blaber to use his W, then just ignite Q him with Elise. They find that kill. During that time off screen, Zven and Blaber had roamed from bot to mid. They're trying to find something to do, but they're just not punishing Luger very much. He's actually still fine just chilling in this bot wave, even in farm right now.
Farming up a storm to keep that even, and I mean, Poome just now having so much more of an effect on the map compared to what you're pointing out, Mark, the way that Zven and Blaber have been rotating around but cannot make anything of it just yet.
Yeah, really nice stuff here out of CLG, not backing down. Like we said, they're a team that's never going to play scared, and I think justifying the third, was it second or third Sion game for Dhokla, this time having their cheese level 1 strat. I don't think it's, I like cheese. I think when people say cheese and they take it as an offensive thing, I don't get it. It's like, yeah, you're doing something unique to try and get a lead in the game. I appreciate it. Here, it didn't lead to a massive play, but at least shows why they are trying on blue side to go for some of this riskier stuff.
No lactose intolerance on this desk.
No, absolutely not. During that time, C9, again, with the Dragon control, like we said, that stacking going in their favor. 45 seconds before Rift Herald's up, I assume they're going to base and reset potentially for that. They have been very aggressive about it, but I think this is the first time, as far as I can remember, that CLG have had a pretty substantial control of mid. It feels like Palafox has had a lot of the shove right now.
Yeah, and the gold lead in CLG's favor when looking at the junglers as well. That lead continuing to extend for Contractz versus Blaber. 2-0-2 on the KDA with the farm as well, and CLG now applying that pressure on that bot side even more. Yeah,
just so frustrating for the side of C9. Losing complete bot control, camps going in favor of C9. Or CLG, excuse me, plates going in favor of CLG, bullying them off their own turret, just 3v3 while the rest of C9 is locked under their turrets.
Oh, there you go in with the grand entrance and the knock-up, and even with the bailout, Blaber will fall. CLG continuing with the kill pressure. Attempt from Zven for the lock, but cannot find.
Who is this team? Just 3v3 between turrets, finding a kill there. CLG are so aggressive, up to a 1.9k gold lead, and during that time, Fudge getting shoved in top wave. Emenes was kind of stuck mid lane. He's been so proactive this game or series. Emenes multiple times has made like level 3 roams off the pressure that he's had, but he has not had the angle to really make anything happen this game. And Palafox is happy to stay locked in lane with him while Contractz runs all over the map.
The damage that Emenes is doing on Palafox means nothing when the play can be returned in such a fashion. Contractz goes for the lock and the flash for the flash onto Emenes. Can't find it in the end, but still applying that pressure.
Yeah, flash for flash there. Contractz is bloodthirsty right now. Emenes trying to make something happen. I appreciate the feeling that he probably has right now where the game's starting to slip away. You know, I don't think one team has a massive advantage in team fights. Of course, you know, Maokai arguably scales better than Elise, but at the end of the day, both these teams are going to be strong in team fights. So I think he's trying to make something happen. Emenes wanted to try and get that kill and getting out just fine, not in too rough of shape. Berserker from mid lane, though, might start setting up for this Rift Herald fight.
Yeah, you can see the rotation on the map over towards this Rift Herald from both sides with Luger and Poome in the vicinity. Control into the back of the pit from Cloud9, while the solo laners in Fudge and Dhokla bring their presence to the opposite side. No teleport for Dhokla, but a regular teleport at that for Fudge.
Interesting lane setups here. Emenes going topside to actually match Poome and Luger, while mid lane is for Berserker and Zven. We'll see if they end up swapping up here. They are rotating.
Flipping onto the back of this pit right now as CLG starts up this Herald. C9 do have intel on this. There's still a full 2 minutes before the next dragon spawns.
Nah, they're just sacking it. It feels too hard to play into the bot and jungle of CLG right now. They have control anywhere that lane's gonna go. They're gonna have pressure. C9, back off that play.
But I think even when you're comparing that to other points in this series, right? It's the right call. You're not going to be able to offset the advantages that Contractz in the bot lane have afforded. But in all other times, Cloud9 have been able to make something happen. And here it is, a little more delay than usual, but they still find the angle to get this kill onto Dhokla on the bot side.
Yeah, they are able to punish after committing those resources to the Rift Herald. They go weak side, they find that play, they get the kill onto Fudge, but it's the best that they can make of it, but they've committed those resources, so now CLG are free to just drop this Herald mid lane. Finally gonna break this turret in one of these games.
A much different look from the Rift Herald compared to game number 1, where CLG grabbed it and they weren't able to finish off, really. They just had to drop it down mid ahead of a dragon fight, and this time around,
the bonus resists from the plates getting taken, keeps the turret up. One of these times, they're gonna get that mid turret, damn it.
One day, one time. But still a little bit of time before those plates do come down here at 11 minutes, so 3 more to go. But CLG, 2.2k gold lead, very proactive across the map, have 45 seconds to set up for this next dragon. And Cloud9, difficult for them to find the angles, especially because of how much has happened over on that bot side, for instance. CLG continuing to pressure.
So despite the pressure that Berserker's been under, the fact that they've kind of kept him away from some of the fighting recently, and the fact that he got that kill down the bot side, he's actually not too far behind gold from Luger, and he's obviously substantially the richest person on his team. He's at 4,300 gold. Next closest is actually Fudge, not quite at 4k yet. So a little bit of trouble there. Looks like he'll be okay. But anyways, just saying that the Berserker late game win con, it hasn't been completely shut down. Oh, the cocoon landed.
Oh, gets it. Emenes on the retreat, though. Ooh, it was getting dicey.
Well, that will get them the turret finally. That shot on Emenes in the mid lane. CLG, the roaming depth squad, it feels like, of Luger, Poome, and Contractz. Doesn't get the kill, but finally finds that first turret of the game.
Which means that now they have their sights over towards the dragon side, cracking open that mid. And on top, Cloud9, they want to make the play happen. Flash and lockdown from the roof for Palafox under the turret, seeing if he can draw as much aggro for tower shots as possible. Does pull off the trade.
That was a very long-range turret shot there, able to find the trade back. Like you said, very nice for them as Dragon gets taken down there by CLG, their first of the game. A little bit of a trade themselves, and also going to be able to break this bot turret.
All right, putting work into these outers, and still a strong, hefty turret on the top side for Cloud9, but nonetheless.
But the Zeri funneling continues. She shows up at the tail end of that play. Everyone else leaves, and she says, my turret plates. And so the late game bomb of Berserker online, the surge that he had in the second half of the season, the dominance he's had, this X factor, it feels like, in these C9 games, I feel like it's all coming down to him right now. He's done a good job of, despite the, like we said, cheese in the early game trying to shut him down, he's done a good job staying relevant in this game. He'll have to punch through a Sion. He'll have to be able to survive this engage from Poome, this, you know, the cocoons from Contractz, but it's all on him, it feels like, right now, and the rest of C9 is about kind of setting him up. It's going to be a tall order for him, though.
And just on this back, was able to get the Mythic and the Immortal Shield Bow, so thinking about how hard he does have to punch and be that force for Cloud9, getting closer and closer to that point when comparing to CLG, who, of course, you have to worry about when Xayah has the Gale Force available for that go and that retreat button. And it's kind of going to be a bot matchup for the ages.
Yeah, Luger has had an incredible series so far himself a little bit. The game 2 on the Zeri, he looked really good, super aggressive. We'll have to see if he continues to play Xayah as aggressively. It's been that way so far, it feels like, this game. But on the Berserker show point, just like, it was kind of the battle between him and Prince 1-2 in the league, felt like a long gap towards third. So if there's anyone you want farmed up in this game, and the one that you're kind of relying on, it would be him.
And speaking of that battle between Berserker and Prince, when Berserker was speaking to D-Gun in their interview, kind of spoke to that, how, yeah, there was a lot of Prince talk, him having that domination, but I never felt like I wasn't the best bot laner. I still knew I was, and then clearly was able to show that in full force towards the end to secure that #1 All-Pro spot. But the contention that they have had throughout the split has been something to watch.
And it's been really cool to see the evolution of Berserker's game. When he first came into the league, paired up with Winsome, was just a scaler, didn't fight for everything. Zven, in an interview actually with the desk, talked about how like his mindset was a very like quote-unquote Korean AD carry mindset where you want to farm up, eat a lot of CS, and get strong for team fights, and working him into a more aggressive player. And seeing that evolution this split, they've been very good on like the double marksman bot lanes and actually winning a lot of early games for their team. Obviously not the case this time around. CLG has thrown a lot of wrenches in his way. And I think the other wrench that has happened was the Blaber not having much focus in the early game, not much control, meant that some of the Rift Heralds were finally able to go their way. Contractz has had a great series, and this was the first time he really shut Maokai down early. But Blaber's Blaber, and of course he's back in farm now.
But that is a good point to make in why it was looking so good for CLG early, because even when CLG was making plays in lanes, it always felt like, oh, Blaber was able to find a dragon here, was able to go and grab the Rift Herald, but having some of the desyncs in those neutral objective timers, as well as that presence, and being on a pick that has some more agency later on, he's just now shored back to it despite having a disadvantage over at the top.
Oh.
Speaking of going in, gets charmed up by Poome, but flashing out and disengaging with the ultimate. Sion coming on in for the insistence on CLG if Cloud9 decide to venture forward.
Yeah, Dhokla showed up, said, "Is this fight over? I don't want it over." They're trying to make it still happen right now.
Want to get something for the resources that they poured into this engage. Cloud9 looking for the angle onto Poome and Contractz. Poome getting that battle dance to join his friend in the riverside, but no kills just yet. An attempt here, a route onto Dhokla, but they know as soon as they see it's hit onto the Sion, there's not much to follow.
Yeah, both teams are just fishing for some kind of CC to lock anyone down to get a chunk out. No one actually ended up losing that much health despite the trade of ultimates, and so that means Rift Herald's still on the table right now. Neither team willing to back away. Teleport's available. Dhokla gonna hang around, maybe will reset, not the case. Only Poome has taken it back so far.
Ward advantage for Cloud9 right now, so CLG wanting to find an angle in here to contest, get a decent amount of poke. Zven down to 50% HP. And Palafox still keeping this angle. Luger and all the friends trying to make the fight turn now. Emenes blasted on down and out of the fight. Elimination of Luger right off the back of it, and now Fudge. Can he get onto Contractz, who zips on out there? Blaber with the root. There's the disengage. Poome now joining Palafox to try to retreat towards lane, but CLG, they lost out in numbers. The 2-for-1 trade thus far. Palafox slamming on down and into the ground. He goes. Berserker not able to get the last hits on to Poome here, but multiple kills into Cloud9's favor.
3-for-1 for Cloud9. It was looking a little dicey there for a second, but they successfully find the key targets. Like you said, the early kill onto Luger, who was one of the most fed members for CLG here. A lot of ultimates were down. They did not have the Rakan combo ready to go to actually be their primary engage. And they have this kind of standoff here. I believe it was Blaber who won this, picks up the eye right after the fight. And then there, Luger just getting way too far forward. I think it was a handshake that might have tagged him and pulled him in. Gets blown up at the start of the fight, and without him, their primary DPS threat, CLG is very split. Poome is a little late to this fight. Dhokla forced back, and it would have been a 3-for-0 if not for this last-second Contractz Q onto Fudge to assassinate him, and Blaber playing that Maokai so well this series, setting his team up for kill after kill after kill. And again, a lot of these ending up on Berserker, now 4-1-2 at the tail end of this fight.
And Cloud9 getting that Rift Herald from that fight. It was about 40 seconds on that timer for the Dragon when they started making that dance around Rift Herald, and then now able to rotate away as the Dragons are starting to really become split across these teams compared to previous times. But ooh, Blaber into some trouble. Rooted by himself though. Poome going for it, has the quickness activated.
Yeah, attempting to want to finish off Blaber there, who got pretty low from the chunk, but not enough members of CLG around to actually take that fight. It was still a 4v3, so can't get too eager there just because someone gets low. It would still be a mismatched fight. But yeah, on the tail end of that, huge for C9. The fact that they've pulled kills even, only 1.2k gold down. They have the Rift Herald to drop eventually, presumably break mid-turret if they can. The Dragon stacking, we've seen this series, it's kind of a bait. It does force fights, but at the end of the day, it's going to be about who wins those fights. And that was a really nice one there by C9. But I will say CLG was disjointed at the start of it. The fact that Poome wasn't there, didn't have his ultimate available. C9 going to have to keep executing well, making sure that Berserker is able to pop off now at 2 items.
Yeah, feeling confident in the power that Berserker will be able to bring into these team fights to come. There's a moment for everyone to get to reset slightly, though. Almost about to be at 20 minutes into the game. And that threat, Berserker, being something that CLG is also very aware of as they continue to build on their own. And again, Poome, yes, not being able to impact as well by finding the targets at the beginning of those fights, but when he does find the angles, is very significant and crucial for what CLG is able to do.
Will be a lot on Poome, like you said, finds engages. Here's that Rift Herald push that we were expecting for C9 to come through on the mid lane.
Crashing on down, so in these moments, when you're looking at Luger too, and the positioning where over in the riverside was kind of left open to be able to be collapsed upon by C9, but here instead you have Dhokla coming through with the ult of his own and getting a lot of damage from Berserker, though. Can CLG follow up upon it? Dhokla eliminated off of the Rift for now. CLG cannot make something of that engage.
Oh god, just CLG getting a little over eager there. Dhokla come flying up the river, and C9 do a really good job disengaging and kind of like baiting that situation in. You can see the pop of Shurelya's by Zven getting Berserker out of there after they landed that shock blast. That's what made CLG think maybe they had an angle to go there. And Blaber just doing a good job kind of bisecting the fights where he has these saplings on the backline of CLG who are trying to get to Dhokla while punching Dhokla back to his own backline. So Blaber has done a really good job in these fights, understanding exactly where to position himself to stop damage from coming towards him while making sure his team can keep getting out DPS.
And multiple effective plays from Cloud9 in those fights to mitigate the damage as much as possible and bring the kills into their favor means that CLG's gold lead has shrunk significantly. Now, all of the advantages they were building up with that early game pressure don't feel as present since Cloud9 continue to push forward in these team fights.
Yeah, CLG not out of the game yet, but they're going to need to clean up their team fighting right now. Has gone the way of C9 a couple times recently.
But they both do have powerhouses for the team fights as well, between the engage tools and then the firepower of Luger and Berserker. When Luger can really get online in these fights and be protected by the squad, there's significant damage that CLG can do. But all the while, Cloud9, they've been chunking down on that mid-turret, had previously dropped the Rift Herald, so they're able to crack that open for themselves. 2-3 on the turret scoreboard currently for these teams.
Yep, pretty even game right now. Gold lead goes to even. Only the Dragon advantage that CLG has right now. And I gotta say, this is turned to another close game. We've had a handful of these. All these games feel like it's either person's game until they win that kind of back-breaking team fight. It's been very hard to predict where it's gonna go. The momentum can flip on a dime too. You know, you think one side is looking so much better, then they lose a team fight. It can go either way. And I gotta say, it's made this a very, very fun series to watch. I think, you know, the scoreline, if C9 win this, it's 3-1. Will not tell the full story of how close the series has been, how tight CLG has played them in each of these games. It's been a kind of continuation, it feels like, of last year. 9 of the same players in this game as the series from Summer Split, where it was a full 5 games.
That's what I was just thinking. It very much feels like the same story. If Cloud9 do win, then you have CLG in that position of, once again, pushing the limits, the score not telling the whole story. But if CLG do manage to pull a victory in this game, they can push it to Game 5 to keep themselves on this winner side of the bracket. Whoever is victorious in this series, securing a spot in North Carolina on the big stage.
All right, heading up into the Dragon fight. CLG in position first, but don't have a ton of crazy tools to stop you from face checking. Maokai is extremely strong for kind of buying that space in river. Palafox is the only one with substantial poke, and already C9 have started to bully them off their Dragon positioning.
And all the while, even though CLG have been pushed off, you're looking at Poome trying to find the right angle on the back of this pit. Blaber getting the shots onto the Dragon, teleport coming in from CLG, the root, the handshake onto Dhokla, but it's the tank at that, wants to be in front of the rest of the squad. Gotta look to see where Luger is able to get a lock on with some of his damage. Blaber still on the Dragon, is brought down to 50. Contractz in the vicinity, stun up onto Blaber. Emenes over the back of the pit as well, now the one with the flanking advantage. Fudge zoned off, root onto Dhokla. There it is. It's over on the Cloud9 side. Getting the Dragon now falling up on the fight. Blaber does go down, but it's a jungle for jungler trade. Knock up onto multiple from Dhokla. There's the blades coming in with a feather slicing. Oh, so hot. Fudge eliminated. Double kill here for Palafox. CLG turning it up in the fight, and the pursuit is good. The blast onto Zven, hitting oh so strong, but great use of the utility to back CLG away to keep Emenes and Zven at least alive.
Huge handshake there by Zven to disengage, keeps it 3-2 in favor of CLG. We've been hyping up these 280 carries, and man, did they live up to it in that fight. They traded their lives out at the last possible second. Oh, Palafox lands a nice poke, but yeah, crazy battle. End of the day, though, Blaber did win that smite contest, ends up taking it away. You saw Contractz have to repel in here because Emenes threatened to try and assassinate him. So he goes in the air, tries to come down. They both smite. I have no idea exactly what the last number they would have seen there was, but that kind of forces Blaber far forward to be getting 3 hit. Even though it's a nice Berserk, there's a cleanse by Luger to make sure he doesn't blow up his own team. He's getting a lot of feathers down, able to focus each member down one at a time. Luger had a great team fight here. When Berserker finally decides to go in, the last second pullback to go 1-for-1 there, finds that kill. Very touch and go. You can see how well Luger has to play these fights because he is such a focus of the actual DPS. 6,900. Oh my god.
Oh, these fights are so close, Mark, and the closeness with which Emenes barely survives here ahead of this Baron play will have to back.
Yeah, huge chunk out there. They're going to force him to TP back in. This is going to get a small advantage. I'm not sure if they're going to go straight flip on it, but CLG are a very aggressive team. They're going to force C9 to walk into them, force Fudge to TP in as well.
Oh, they're sticking to it so far. Both teleports coming in from Cloud9's side, and another ultimate initiation from Blaber. They get the root and more onto Dhokla, seeing if they can burn down the tank before setting their focus onto the rest of the team. But Poome going on in, the disengage, and a double knock-up and the burn down onto Blaber, who actually ends up getting with the bailout and coming back into it. Fudge now subject and keeps the eyes on 2 members of CLG, now eliminated 2-for-2 trade thus far. Contractz zoned off by Emenes, who will be able to get the lock, and therefore the kill. Take that spider, pull her out of her web, and into the grave she goes with one more hit to go. Cloud9 swinging the gold back, getting the ace, and now claiming the Baron.
We'll see if they can get the Baron. It's 13 seconds on Dhokla, who has TP. They have 3 members. They're doing it quick enough. This should go in the favor of C9. Crazy team fight there. A huge bailout by Zven to keep Blaber alive. Allows him to come back up. They're starting to get a little low. Baron gets the kill credit. No gold going over, unfortunately. That does mean 4 members get it. Emenes will be back up soon. Here's this huge bailout by Blaber, and I think just a little bit too slow for CLG to find their angle in. Blaber gets a nice route here to kind of trap Dhokla in a position where they can hit him, and CLG are just not returning damage back. And so when Poome finally goes in, he's not really able to get onto anyone other than Blaber, and so while they finish him off, he's going to come right back up after this bailout. It means there's so many resources sunk in to finish him off that they're able to get Luger, yet again, another W from Berserker, kind of finalizing that final kill. And it's just about which AD carry is able to do more work in that fight, it feels like. Blaber had a really nice fight there. Same with Zven. The support players playing very well.
Yeah, props to Zven for making sure that bailout came through, keeping Blaber online, and that's the sacrifice here.
Emenes is a little frustrated, it looks like, to die there, but not the end of the world. I think he's still overall happy for his team, getting the Baron onto 4 members, getting a 3,000 gold lead off the tail end of that fight, as well as the objective taken, and now able to grab some more gold with the push that they have coming through.
Just, you know, doesn't get to be on theme with the rest of them in purple, but still they do have this working their favor. A charm onto Fudge as the fight is once again initiated. Blaber burned down pretty effectively, and the Berserk comes through on the exit. What a blast from Poome, and the rest actually with Palafox getting that from downtown. So finish up from CLG to continue with the poke.
Of course, I cursed it. I talk about C9 going to be able to grab some turrets here to extend their gold lead. And next thing that happens, Blaber caught out in the jungle. It felt like a little bit of split focus from C9, where some people are scrapping out Poome. Blaber's maybe trying to get over there and gets caught out of position. Not able to use this Baron buff super effectively yet. Still 1,000 gold power play. Might be able to get a couple more in their favor.
1 more minute on that Red Bull Baron buff too for them to extend that a bit more.
That's a gold graph I like to see.
That's a fun one. Wasn't that our goal for this?
Yeah, both teams have fun.
Yeah. They all got fun for a chunk of that line, but Cloud9 having a bit more fun in recent times.
Having a bit more fun, having a bit more of a difficult time to contest this dragon, though, because there's no Blaber there to smite, so we'll see if CLG just want to burn this one down and try and escape, get onto Soul Point.
trying to do so. Does anyone from Cloud9 want to step up? It looks like they're looking to take the fight, even though giving over the dragon itself. All the focus onto Dhokla once more, so they can eliminate that front line. And
Blaber's here.
Dhokla holding it as much as possible. Blaber loves to lead with the ultimate when they do want to follow up. Doesn't throw it out this time. Dhokla instead ulting out.
I thought for sure Dhokla was going to split in there between the two uprights, get the escape, but still got the range he needed to get out. Big win for CLG after what looked like a disastrous Baron situation. The fact that not only do they stop the Baron push without losing a single turret, they also are able to grab the third dragon in their favor. You would expect, even if C9 didn't get a turret, they would use the Baron push to control and set up for dragon, but that big mistake by Blaber ends up dropping here. 6 deaths for him. A player who is uncharacteristically, I don't want to say feeding because he's been playing the frontline role quite well, actually, but uncharacteristic amount of deaths for him. He's a super efficient player. He rarely dies in games. He usually leads league and kills. He has an insane KDA every split because he does such a good job riding the line so well, but he's been getting picked on this game quite a bit.
And at least on that kind of efficiency of Blaber, it almost feels like the deaths are that as well, though. Still making sure to get down the engage before falling and having somewhat of a presence, so it's not like he's just giving his life over. But still, once that threat is taken out, especially around the neutral objectives, then CLG can make so much of it. Yeah,
and as someone who was previously being an Anathema's chain salesman, I don't know if this is the game for it. It's really good when there's a single threat, the 30% damage reduction against like a Xayah, if it's a straight front-to-back team fight, or if there's only one other threat, makes a lot of sense. But here, Palafox is not a joke. You can't ignore him, and it's the same case with Contractz.
You can't ignore anyone on this team at this point with the way they're able to hold
that
in
chain.
that game. The chain into the roof, into the laser, into it all. Contractz falls.
Huge play there by Emenes. I do not know why Contractz blew his repel right away. He was going to face check Emenes. I thought they were going to try and chunk him out, but he ends up going up in the air, and as soon as they see that, C9 pull the trigger on Contractz. Big mistake there by him. Huge chain by Emenes to set that up, and Blaber with the ultimate follow-up. Gonna buy C9 some more room, extend that gold lead a little bit more, should be able to grab some more turrets for them.
Yeah, breaking down that tier 2 across mid lane, one of the most effective lanes just to be able to have that turret control for roaming priority across this map. And now Cloud9 gathering with 4 on this top side, a full wave ushered, and they love to push under the turret as fast as possible. Collapse upon CLG where needed, but at this point they had so much damage to be able to burn it down quickly, because we're at 32 minutes into the game mark, and they have extended that gold lead to 5.4.
Yeah, looking really good. And I gotta say, Emenes secretly having a good game. He was a little quiet in the lane phase, getting trapped in there with the Jayce, but since then has been quietly making plays over and over again. Only 1 death, playing on the edge quite a bit, a few times, looking like he might drop, but not actually going down. Here, yet again.
You can see that power mounting. Everyone's getting these builds stronger and stronger into the late game, and that burst that much more threatening.
Yeah, you can see he's feeling himself, picking up a Maokai Soul Stealer up to 10 stacks right now. Gonna do his best to not lose those, and the gold lead growing and growing for Cloud9. It's been a hard-fought gold lead, but in Game 4 of this series, looking quite good. We'll have to see if CLG can find a team fight, get back into this game.
And will that team fight be soon? There's 10 seconds to go for this next Baron to spawn, so the Vision fight has begun as CLG venture on forward to establish some of their own. But all the while, Fudge on that bot side to usher that wave down towards that tier 2 turret has the Unleashed teleport available to rejoin the rest of Cloud9 should CLG find and engage.
Yeah, we'll have to see how C9 wants to play this one out. We do have the dragon spawning in 1 minute. I think they're going to try and force this Baron down before then.
Starting it up at least. CLG are not unknown on this information, but having a difficult time venturing on through. Teleport in for the support from Pixel, and will Dhokla make the opening play? There it is, the unstoppable onslaught, but all the while, Cloud9, they secure the Baron, now trying to throw it back. Poome effectively brought out of the fight here to shield the backline, and the knockback of multiple members of CLG. They cannot escape. Cloud9 take down 2, keep their eyes on Contractz, and as they wear purple one more time, they are feeling themselves in this late game.
Only 2 people left alive, none dead for C9. This could be the game-ending push. Huge zone control buys on the Baron, and a monstrous 3-man Cassante knockback. Found a number of kills now. We'll see if just the top end support can somehow save this game for CLG.
Oh, but C9, they don't want any saving grace for CLG to come through. They keep under this turret. They take down 1. Dhokla keeping the focus onto Fudge, but Cloud9 push Poome back into the fountain. Here it is, the team coming in hot from that #1 spot of the regular season with a series win against CLG.
C9 punched their ticket to Raleigh in a 3-1 series versus CLG. Emenes and Zven with the most awkward celebration you'll see today. Excellent series, though, overall, out of the side of C9. Very hard fought. Back and forth. Berserker, absolute monstrous performance again here on the Zeri. The adaptation that came through to put more resources into his late game carry potential. He showed that he was worth the investment. Zven as well, great job supporting him despite all the attention that he ate early on in the game, all the pressure that CLG threw down at them. They could not actually be held down.
After a season drawing so much attention to the early game of Cloud9 off of all of the aggression, but they still have Berserker ready to pop off in the late game. Multiple members of that squad that have created names for themselves for good reason across All Pro. But for CLG, by being 4th seed, they're in the top of the bracket. It's not the end of their run after this loss.
No, CLG will be playing one more time this weekend on Sunday versus Evil Geniuses, another tough opponent. They've been struggling more recently, but there's the question of Jojo with COVID, the question of playing at home. EG's a hard team to get a read on, but CLG gonna have to bounce back quickly, reset, find a game plan for that matchup.
A smaller window for them to do so, but I'm sure they will go right to the grind.
Definitely the case. For C9, though, it's a rematch. Them versus FlyQuest.
Yes.
They have played 3 times already. They had the tiebreaker. It was somewhat of a close series. It is that match that I think cemented Berserker in a lot of people's minds, myself included, as the best AD carry in the LCS. That Draven game, the fact that he can eat 3 bans. Remember, both games on blue side, Berserker ate 3 bans before popping off later. You know, you see how good Blaber is about trying to set him up. The team fighting on the Maokai, like this team is so well balanced. It's very scary. And I think, you know, if you're FlyQuest watching this, you're going to start needing to think about what you're going to do.
And the internal narratives of that matchup are just so strong because, yes, there is obviously that bot lane matchup of Prince and Berserker and what put him over the edge. But the junglers always, too.
Spica versus Blaber.
Spica versus Blaber. It's been a story of the entirety of their career. They've both been MVPs in the past. They are both junglers that throughout the season have showed both looks, where Spica early on, right, it was on the Maokai, on the Amumu, but then was able to carry later on. We know Blaber can carry, but was doing the Maokai and all of that jazz during this series.
Fudge versus Impact. Dhokla versus Emenes, another crazy matchup. Like, that series is going to be insane. I expect it to be very fun to watch no matter what the outcome is.
Yeah, I'm curious as to what C9 is going to pull away from this game, though, as one of the most internally hypercritical anytime after speaking to any of them after the matchups, because Cloud9, or CLG rather, did give them a run for their money in certain points. But at the same time, now collectively looking at it in all the matches, it's not in a way that has me worried for Cloud9 moving forward.
No, I think Cloud9, they're the #1 seed for a good reason. You saw it in this series. Yes, they got tested a little bit, but that speaks more to CLG than them. And they bounced back multiple times, even when they fell behind. Like in this game, they slowly chipped away at CLG, winning critical fights, getting back into the game and taking control of it. And I think Blaber got set behind for once in his life, it felt like, and he was still just absolutely fine, still able to play the frontline role quite well.
Yeah, and I mean, the way that he is able to play that role well also comes off of some of the play of some of his teammates. Zven having a great bailout in that one fight that really enabled him to move forward. But I don't know, Cloud9 looking pretty hot, pretty spicy. And remember, we're gonna have Cloud9 over there in Raleigh, North Carolina, and we are officially live with those tickets for the LCS Spring Finals on April 8th and 9th. So by winning here, definitely know what one team is gonna be in Cloud9. We'll have to see who else will be playing with them on the big stage. Don't forget to go to Ticketmaster.com to get your tickets before they are gone. All right, everyone. As far as what we got going on right now, Fudge, Blaber, and Zven will be joining the lounge in a few minutes. But until then, let's send it back over to Jat and Jensen to break down this game's decisive fight.
Thank you very much. It's a party in here. We're going to be having Zven, Fudge, and Blaber joining the lounge in a second. First, Jensen and I are going to break down what the decisive fight of the final game was. And just to set the context here, CLG is starting Baron. It's at about 4,000 health. It's because the LeBlanc had been chunked out and C9 is basically trying to move in and stop this Baron. How are you feeling at this point in the fight, Jensen?
I mean, at this point, it looks like they're just trying to rush down the Baron. And then when they realize they're coming in and LeBlanc is tipping back in, they're like, okay, we need to turn.
Yeah,
so they're looking
wanna
to turn, and Maokai comes in, so they're like, okay, we gotta hit Maokai. But I think Poome going in here, if you can play the clip.
Yep.
I think this is a pretty crucial mistake by CLG, because now Poome goes in on the Maokai, he just dies. Fine, they get the Maokai, but I think Maokai will probably like have to flash out or lose a lot of HP to the other players anyways. And then, as you can see, Tina is kind of just cleaning up.
Yeah.
There was a few small things that happened.
Exactly.
That was actually
We're gonna go over
crucial.
them. Basically, watch the Q3 from the
Fudge.
Cassante. Right there, knocks Luger into the Berserk.
Yeah, because actually what Luger was trying to do is he wanted to ulti from the Renata ult, but because of the timing of everything that happened, Fudge's Q3 hits him right before he wants to ult the Renata ult, and then he gets hit. And
Yeah.
I think that changes a lot of the fight outcome.
Yeah, so that was basically, if that doesn't happen, a lot could be different. The other thing we wanted to talk about a little bit was if Poome could have approached from a different angle, because at the very start of the fight, we can see Poome down here at the bottom, and oftentimes the Rakan does want to flank, but you mentioned something about how he doesn't know where LeBlanc is whatsoever.
Yeah, so normally like as Rakan, you want to flank, look for the backlink, but it's pretty hard because they don't see the LeBlanc, and he's probably thinking the LeBlanc's gonna mark him, so then he moves up over here instead, which makes sense, but it is very hard for him to find a good flank, so he kind of just has to like go in from the front and just wait for the right opportunity. I think he did go a bit too early, so he just ended up dying and not really having any threat on the backline, but
What's your review on the LeBlanc chase down?
oh, clean, hits the chain, back-to-back chain, MVP.
Yeah, player of the series. Okay, thank you very much. We're going to reveal the player of the series during the Verizon post-game interview. Now we're going to send it to Zven, Fudge, and Blaber with Emily and Raz. Thanks, Jensen.
Player of the series, Berserker.
Berserker did absolutely nothing and auto-attacked them.
The post-game interview where these three were trying their hardest not to commentate through watching that entire team fight back about 3 times. Congratulations.
I mean, it's hard not to VOD review like right after your game. We also felt like I felt like all our team comms were so depressing after we won. We were like, so
It
bad.
feels like I lost, to be fair.
Yeah, I really felt like I lost.
What do you
Why,
think
man?
Yeah.
We won!
I don't know.
If you lost, we wouldn't be here.
That's a good point.
What do you think a lot of the, like, because I remember specifically the Sion swap game. Like that one, I felt you guys actually played out initially really well. Sion, Cassante pushed out topside, and then you guys not only TP'd, but you actually mirrored the dive specifically. So like this looked like CLG completely lost based off the initial play. So like, first of all, just kind of running through it. Were you guys prepared of it going into it?
Yeah, so we practiced a bunch of Sion lane swaps, like playing against it and playing as it in scrims this week against our academy team.
Yeah.
So so that no one would know that was practicing it as well, in case of scrim leaks. And then we were prepared for it. Usually the jungler doesn't actually defend the dive, it's just the top lane that TPs, and then you die like 1 for 2. This game, Blaber decided he just wanted to come. It should have been a lot better, but then he entered to Sion, so
All right.
good job.
Sion just
Gave
tripled
him
you.
a Ruby Crystal, level 1, so I couldn't get ahead in lane. Good job. I also died to Elise and Rakan, jungle subgap, once again.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, when Sion died for free, I was like, oh, it's over.
Yeah.
And then Sion one-shots Blaber, 1v1 under our tower, and Flush went it down. I'm like, oh, never mind, it's losable.
Something I noticed, like, you guys generally, last week of the regular season, played pretty cleanly. And then just like, generally in the LCS, you guys have been doing quite well. But when it goes up against CLG, something happens.
I don't know, man. I think Contractz is just
That's
gapping
just
Blaber.
Contractz. He's
Contractz does play pretty well in a lot of these games. And like, for example, in the 3rd game, like early game, we were trying to like gank bot lane, like cheese bot lane with Maokai gank.
Yeah.
And then they
don't know
respected it.
how they
And
fought.
then, yeah, they're just
They're
really
just
good.
good.
They're just really good. And then they ganked bot, and then we died.
The moment Blaber leaves, we die bot. Sorry, guys.
I was actually wondering about that because I thought you were there for an uncharacteristically long amount of time for you. Because usually you'll give up if you don't see like an angle. So what was going on there?
Is Ven crying for a gank? What's happening here?
Well,
I said they used their only word in the Verbush, which we saw. So Maokai could have flashed over the wall and just W'd the no cleanse Jinx. I was Rakan E on top of him. He'll get rooted for like 3-4 seconds and he'll just die, right?
Yeah.
But he was like just 1 inch out of range. He was like blue balling us a little bit.
yeah, I thought that like,
We had an angle, you know, but then we didn't have an angle. And then I was like triggered, I always waste time. So now it's like sunk cost fallacy.
Yes.
So
no, it's just
unlucky.
okay. It's better for me to stay there and try to get the bot crab I think, then after I wasted all that time, then just run back top. Because if I go back top side and he runs to my chickens, I'm gonna lose them anyways, and then it's fine. Like, it's better for me to stay bot side, I thought, at least anyways. But in general, like, I do play a little different when I'm playing Maokai, basically, because I feel like I don't need like as many resources, but I do like farming on Maokai too.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to die on Maokai for some reason. I just like dying.
Also, the entire week of scrims, Berserker keeps complaining that the enemy jungle is ganking and he's not getting ganked.
Yes.
So.
Oh, there it is.
He's not here to defend himself,
Yes.
so
I mean, it's just facts. It's just facts.
Oh
Sarah's
my
Blaber is
God.
my favorite
Play of this-
interaction in the team.
Why?
What are you gonna say, huh? What are you gonna say?
Series,
What?
it's Berserker.
What?
I'm spoiling it.
Bring it
I'm
up.
spoiling it.
Bring it up.
Berserker's the player of the series. The GOAT.
Why did he get it?
I mean, to be fair, he played like consistently decent.
He did?
I mean, last game he played well.
That's true.
The two Zeri games. I mean, Zeri's just
yeah.
broken.
Yeah.
This guy like doesn't want to
Good
play Zeri for some reason. He's playing for fun.
There it is. Like the conversation throughout was between you and Berserker, just like consistency throughout the series. And yeah, Berserker just edged it out. Do you think he deserved it? Do you think he should have taken it?
He played well, but like the thing is all of our comps are like so irrelevant what our ADC does, because we're just playing tanks with Zeri so that we just tank them all and then Zeri just cleans up at the end. And it's always a winning fight. Or this like Varus game. I mean, this Varus game I think he played pretty well, obviously. I think this Varus game he actually played probably the best on our team, but I also think Maokai is just the MVP, honestly.
Yes, I agree. Like, I should have won MVP for my performances.
I
don't think you should have won MVP. I think Maokai should have.
I was gonna say, in fairness, I actually really love that you, and then we also saw the Maokai yesterday from FlyQuest, because I felt like, yes, obviously Demonic got nerfed. You didn't even go Demonic in your games.
Yeah.
But like Maokai is something that I see all the time in China and South Korea, where they still spam the heck out of it just because his zone control is insane.
Yeah.
So I'm actually so happy you guys keep picking Maokai.
I'm also very happy we keep picking Maokai. Please keep picking Maokai. My mid laner isn't though, because he doesn't get jungle ganks.
Oh, yeah.
We have Maokai, I need Lee Sin.
Lost the one Lee Sin game.
Oh, there it is.
Lost the Lee Sin game.
True. There it means something.
Back to Maokai.
Something I noticed from the early portions of the series was you specifically was actually tracing Contractz quite well. There's the one time when he was on Elise, he tried to go for a top lane dive, got completely pushed out of that. There's a second time, I think 12 minutes into that game, you were looking for bot lane play with Herald, and I mean, he was looking for a play for you. It felt like you guys were reading him quite well, especially after the last game of the regular season.
Yeah.
Where they were trying for a lot of stuff, like 3 camp ganks and stuff, and that it was working.
Us.
Yes.
Mid, bot, a little world tour, kill everyone.
Yes.
I was 0-8 that game too, so.
I mean, what happened is we reviewed that game.
Yeah.
We're like, this guy loves to gank at level 3. If he knows where your wards are, he will gank and he will try to punish it.
Yep.
So the first game, for example, I was playing Jayce. They knew where I warded. It was very heavy trading. And then I just told Blaber, you have to skip camps, you have to come here, otherwise I can't play, because I have no ward for myself. So he came, it worked out. Same thing happened in the Kennen game. They were like, they're going to try to dive top, and Jayce was trying to trade aggressively. We came top, they died. So I think we did pretty well to like tracking him. A lot better than that first game. You know. We don't have to
The
talk
first
about
game
it.
we saw him.
We don't have to talk about that first game anymore.
Yeah, we can leave that to review.
Moving on.
A reminder that you guys are now qualified for Raleigh. So
Hey.
We're going to North Carolina!
Woo! All right. And you're going up against FlyQuest.
Oh, nice, proven.
Oh no.
I don't know, because obviously whenever you ask players, like, how excited are you to go up against this team? The answer is usually trash, honestly. But
My bad, man.
No, it's a question that like you feel like you have to ask, right? And obviously you guys can't give me much because you're going up against them. It makes sense. I'm not calling you out.
Give us something interesting,
I was gonna
basically.
say, is there
Give us something interesting?
anything you saw from them yesterday besides the Maokai that we already mentioned? Obviously, Maokai's gonna be high prio in the series.
Okay, you got it?
That you
He's
saw
got
from
this, he's got this.
FlyQuest.
All right.
Here's the thing. We have the better ADC, so we'll just win.
All right.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
There's
sure.
MSI.
Prince. Proven.
There you go.
That's all you need to say.
That's also what
Yeah.
the All Pro said.
Speaker,
Exactly.
Blaber.
Dude.
I agree with.
Impact, Fudge.
Also agree.
But ADC is broken,
But
so we win.
Zven, Ayla.
No, I mean, it's like Zven, Halo or
Yeah,
something.
it's like
I agree.
Sorry, Ayla.
Agree.
Sorry, Ayla.
He's your countryman.
I know you're an OC boy. I hate OC people. I'm against all of them.
Yep.
I'm the best OC player.
What about mid? Does it not matter or what?
No, mid doesn't matter. Just pick Maokai and pick Zeri and just win.
I feel like Victor was kind of smurfing.
Yeah, he was smoking.
Oh, his Veigar.
Yeah, the Veigar was pretty rough.
I think we might be banning Veigar.
Yeah, time to ban it.
We're
All right.
banning Veigar.
That is it for us. Thank you, C9, for joining us here.
No,
Thank you.
Chime will be joining us on the broadcast tomorrow for 100 Thieves versus Golden Guardians at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. See you guys.
Bye-bye.
The only way.
Enemy top lane has teleport, be careful.
AD? Yeah.
Bro, can you stop saying
AD?
Just say something.
Yeah. I'm bad.
Emenes looking for the angle, looking to collapse. The root onto one from Blaber. Emenes slinging on in there, hitting away with the Q, and what it do? First blood for Fudge.
Fudge going in!
He's going in for the end of the game. That's one turret, that's two. Who cares about Elder when you got the Nexus in your sights for Cloud9? Cutting into the scrap of CLG. Palafox, can you make the stand against Fudge? What he's got coming for you in the Nexus? A stand from Cloud9! Game one!
I think he saw us. Go.
Bubble in there?
He can study.
Flash. I'm flashing on him. I don't care.
You hit.
Oh my god. I'll be in 2 seconds. He's out.
Oh.
It's okay.
It's fine.
It's okay. No ghost.
CLG are in the driver's seat of the fight. Going on in, getting the shutdown, the action of Palafox, zone up, and all the way on the wayside. C9 falling 1 by 1. CLG, a triple for Palafox, and the ace for the team. Contractz not looking scared in this attempted gank down bot, flashing away from the Cloud9 side, and first blood getting an advantage over to CLG.
They're going on Fudge?
I'm fine.
Fudge is fine.
I flash.
We'll go.
I have ulti for you, Fudge.
Can we
I'm
finish?
fine. Trust me. I'm fine.
Okay, nice.
We don't have to fight here, guys.
I'm following.
No, we win. Fight.
Keep going.
I'm the ulti now, guys.
No flash Veigar.
Look AD.
No flash.
No support Veigar.
Go top. We win.
Yes, I can TP on top.
They're setting their focus onto the rest of the team, but Poome going on in, the disengage, and a double knock up and the burn down onto Blaber, who actually ends up getting with the bailout and coming back into it. But now subject and keeps the eyes on 2 members of CLG, now eliminated 2-for-2 trade thus far. Here it is, the team coming in hot from that #1 spot of the regular season with a series win against CLG.